Okay, so we've been talking obviously a lot about meiosis and how it leads to the formation of gametes. But so far, we've just shown the gametes as these little four circles, that are formed after cytokinesis too. But of course, like in our bodies, if they're male gametes made by the testes in a male, then what actually results from meiosis are four sperm cells, four individual haploid sperm cells. And in females, it's four cells that are all haploid, but actually only one of them ends up being a mature egg or a mature ovum, and the other three cells actually end up disintegrating. So every time meiosis happens in a human female's body to make gametes from a mother cell, only one of those four gametes is actually going to be what we call viable, or is going to live and be mature and possibly be fertilized. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that process today. It is covered in your textbook in chapter 5 as well. And it's nothing is different about it in terms of like how the chromosomes divide up. The way meiosis happens is the same. That's not what's different. What's different is kind of like what happens to the cells along the way to allow them to ultimately develop into either sperm or ovum, which is another word for egg. So I'm gonna show you the diagrams that are from your book, and this note sheet is on your Canvas page. There's really very little for you to fill out because I mostly just wanted you to have what was in the book in a summarized form. So first of all, this formation of gametes, which is the result of meiosis, the fancy name for that is gametogenesis, so the making of gametes. And if you're talking about the making of an ovum or an egg, which is the female gamete, then we call that oogenesis. And this just kind of shows you, again, it doesn't show you all the steps of meiosis, but it shows you that like after the first, after cytokinesis 1, when the homologous pairs are separated, into the two daughter cells after cytokinesis 1, you'll notice that in oogenesis, one of the cells gets a lot of the cytoplasm from the split, and the other one gets very little cytoplasm. The one that gets very little cytoplasm is called the first polar body. And the one that gets the most cytoplasm is the one that eventually is going to divide to become the egg. So we'll get back to that in a minute. But this first polar body that was formed after cytokinesis 1 will split again after cytokinesis 2. And what you get are two even smaller, what we call polar bodies. So you have this first polar body splits into two polar bodies. Okay. Now, that other cell, the one that received most of the cytoplasm after cytokinesis 1, when it splits in cytokinesis 2, it's another uneven division of cytoplasm where one of the cells gets most of the cytoplasm again, and the other cell receives very little cytoplasm and is considered to be actually another polar body. So that at the end of the whole process, you do have 4 haploid cells. See, they all don't have pairs of chromosomes. They're all N, but only one of them, the biggest one, is going to be the functional ovum. And these other smaller secondary bodies disintegrate. And you're going to have to be able to put to be able to basically kind of memorize this process and be able to recite it. So just make sure you are able to do that. The ovum has to have a lot of cytoplasm because when it's fertilized by the sperm has almost no cytoplasm. And for the zygote to be have enough cytoplasm to live, basically. The fertilized egg, it's got to have a lot of cytoplasm from the ovum. Okay, now that's how we form eggs or ova. If we're forming the male gametes, which of course are sperm, then this process is called spermatogenesis. And you see that here the cells divide equally. So it's not like with the ovum being formed. After cytokinesis 1, you have 2 equally sized daughter cells. In cytokinesis 2, each of those daughter cells separates into 2 equally sized daughter cells. So you have a total of 4 daughter cells, and what happens is that they really start as circles, but over time they form a flagellum, and they lose a lot of their cytoplasm, and then they are mature sperm. Okay, each of them haploid, all functional. So, of course, as we've already talked about, what happens in sexual reproduction is a haploid sperm will fuse with a haploid ovum. That fusion is called fertilization. What is formed is a diploid zygote that now carries half of its genetic information, which it inherited from its father, and half of its genetic information, which it inherited from its mother. Okay, so again, you'll need to be able to understand and describe these processes. Not too complicated, just some little details that you want to make sure that you remember. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is ask, if you're at home, then I want you to play the next video, which is the one on Gametogenesis on Canvas, and I'm going to have the sub do the same thing here at school. And then after that, I would like for everybody to Zoom on to my meeting, and we'll have the rest of the time for you to ask me any questions you might want to on Zoom, to work on your review sheets that are going to be due tomorrow at 10 p.m. with me there to help you if you should need it. Okay, so see you soon. Bye.